Testing. Test 1, 2. Okay, everyone, let's start the what if. What if Yamcha learned the Kaioken? Part 9. Crumbling cities, widespread disease, and a sky clouded with a thick black smog from the burning remnants of the once proud Earth are all slowly starting to fade into the background. Thanks to the death of the androids, Bulma was free to fully operate in the open. A small refuge was constructed that provided food, shelter, and medical treatment to all in need. Yamcha, of course, was in charge of cleaning up the area. It was a never-ending slog of moving rubble and last-minute rescues. And through that endless toil, progress was made, and the news was spread. People from miles over walked with weary hearts and calloused feet to the light of salvation. Planes arrived from the world over with droves of people. This was the first camp to be set up so far, and was already being filled to the brim with the hopeful, the starving, and the able-bodied. It was also in a rather symbolic position, as the camp was set up in the first city to ever be destroyed by the androids. Bulma had set up her own shelter here long ago, figuring it would be the last place the androids would return to. Trunks, for the first time in his life, got to play with other kids. Bulma was constantly drawn away from her work, catching glimpses of children playing games together with her son, only to be drawn in again by another drove of the starving and injured. However, there was one person who didn't seem too happy about all the merriment in the world around him. Not too far away, close enough to hear the laughter of the children playing, and smell the waft of warm food, Vegeta clawed his way from the rubble. Chunks of cement and rebar sliding off of his battered and torn armor. Vegeta took a moment to mentally process his revival. It was as though he had woken up from a long dream. In the haze of his vague recognition, the moment of his death brought him to the full awareness of the world, as he remembered the moment Android 18 cleaved his head from his shoulders. Rage flooded his heart. He needed to kill her. How could the Prince of all Saiyans lose to someone like her so easily? He took off, blasting from the rubble in a torrent of speed and bloodlust. He landed at the nearby campsite, shoving past several civilians. He found Bulma looking through a list, giving orders to some other men she had entrusted with ships to set up camps elsewhere. He grabbed her by the shoulder and spun her around to face him. "The androids! Where are they?" Vegeta demanded. Bulma was stunned. "Vegeta? When did you get here?" But Vegeta wasn't answering any questions she had. "The androids! The one with blonde hair! Where is she?" Vegeta heard someone else answer to his left. "They're dead." Vegeta stepped back from Bulma and started staring down Yamcha while walking towards him. He didn't have to ask his next question to get an answer. Everyone knew what he was thinking. "I killed them. They're long gone now." Vegeta stopped moving, blinking twice. "Is this some kind of joke? How am I supposed to believe you, an Earthling, managed to kill these androids?" Vegeta didn't deserve an answer in his mind. Sensing the disdain within Yamcha, Vegeta grabbed the collar of Yamcha's shirt, dragging him forward with a cold voice. "Don't ignore me." Yamcha gently moved his hand up to Vegeta's wrist and then locked around it with an iron grip, forcing Vegeta off of him. Vegeta tried to remove himself from Yamcha's grip, but it remained firm and unbreakable. It was then he noticed Yamcha had gotten stronger than before. Much stronger. Maybe 3 or 4 times his own power. He sensed it within him. But still, those androids could compete with a Super Saiyan. And as strong as Yamcha is now, he would lose effortlessly if Vegeta only transformed. Yamcha let go of Vegeta's wrist the moment Vegeta seemed to calm down. Vegeta tugged away from Yamcha and demanded once again, "How did you kill them?" Yamcha closed his eyes, let out a deep sigh, finally managing to relax himself. "Well, Vegeta, I just so happen to have found a new technique that makes me almost as strong as a Super Saiyan." A thin smirk tugged at the corner of Yamcha's lips as he spoke, a bit of pride shining through. Vegeta couldn't believe his ears yet again, but it was the only explanation that made sense, really. Kakarot was not anywhere on Earth as far as he could sense, and his brat wasn't here either. There was the Namekian, but as strong as he still wasn't on par with the power he experienced during his fight with the androids. Little did he know, Goku and Gohan were currently in the time chamber, and wouldn't be out until later that night. So the only possible explanation is that Yamcha had managed to find a way to increase his power in a manner akin to a Super Saiyan, but it still wasn't something he could believe. "If you really do have such a technique, then show it to me. I refuse to believe that you, of all people, managed to surpass the Super Saiyan. If you really did manage to kill the androids, it was a fluke." Bulma stepped in between the two now. "Hey, Vegeta, you're scaring the refugees, and Yamcha, you still have work to do." Yamcha snapped back to the present situation. With a nod, he promised Vegeta, "If you really want to see it for yourself, I can show you sometime later tonight." Yamcha flew off to continue his work. Vegeta was unsure what to do with himself at that moment. Bulma seemed to answer that question for him. "You could start by flying supplies to the other camps?" Vegeta scoffed. "And why exactly would I help you?" Bulma answered very bluntly, "Because you have nothing better to do, obviously." Vegeta didn't respond, only rolling his eyes as he faced away from her and began to walk away with no destination in mind. Bulma sighed. "Fine, don't help, but at least meet someone before you go." Vegeta's curiosity was caught when he turned around to find Bulma calling over a small child. "Trunks, you can go play later. Come over here, there's someone I want you to meet." Trunks waved goodbye to his new friends as he ran over. Out of breath from their game of tag, he spoke. Yeah, Mom?" Bulma said, "This is Vegeta, your dad." Vegeta looked at the young Trunks and dismissed him from one glance alone. "Why am I supposed to believe this brat is mine? For all I know, he's Yamcha's." Bulma had a quick answer to that. "Trunks, show Vegeta your tail, honey." Trunks pulled out the tail he had kept tucked in his pants. Vegeta was bewildered by this revelation. It was his son, it had to be. In this timeline, the androids decided to blow up the moon for fun, and given there was no threat of Trunks becoming an Osaru, she decided to let him keep the tail. Trunks looked at Vegeta for a moment and laughed. "He's rather short, isn't he?" Vegeta, despite the momentary shock, was able to recompose himself. "So what if he's mine? Am I supposed to feel something about it?" Bulma couldn't believe her ears. "Of course you are, he's your child, and he survived the absolute hell you put the Earth through." "Yeah, that's right. Tien told me everything about how you decided to not lend your energy to the spirit bomb. The least you could do is be around your son." Bulma stormed forward, grabbing Vegeta by the collar. Vegeta said, "Oh really? You're blaming this on me? Blame your own weakness. I never had any reason to help any of you." Bulma almost laughed at the absurdness of Vegeta's words. "Why are you so upset? Oh, I know. It's because you got your butt kicked by a girl, isn't it?" Vegeta closed his eyes and grabbed both of Bulma's wrists. Before ripping them from his shirt, he said, "Leave me alone." He shoved her back just a little too hard, causing Bulma to fall flat on the ground. Vegeta turned to leave, but what he heard next stunned him. "Don't touch my mom!" Trunks charged in, leaping up and clocked Vegeta right in the jaw with a flying punch. It didn't do any actual damage, but the attack surprised him, knocking him off balance. Trunks landed against the wall. Planting both of his feet onto it, he propelled himself forward, rocking the back of Vegeta's skull with another strike. Then, propelling himself from a barrel, a crate, the ceiling, he leapt from any object he could find to gain height and speed on Vegeta. Vegeta, after recomposing himself, was easily able to grab Trunks' fist midair. Trunks clawed at Vegeta's glove and began biting and scratching at it. Let go of me, you big bully!" Vegeta smirked. "You think you can defend your mother with power like that? How pathetic." Vegeta tossed Trunks at the ground. Trunks got up again, fire in his eyes as he charged forward, leaping up and throwing everything he had at Vegeta. Vegeta blocked the flurry of strikes with his palms. Gravity eventually drew Trunks to the ground, and the moment his feet hit the ground, he tried to jump up under Vegeta's guard for an uppercut. Vegeta stepped back out of the way, letting Trunks fly right past him, and Vegeta grabbed Trunks by the ankle, slamming him into the dirt again. Trunks got up, gasping for breath, winded but not finished. Bulma ran over, desperate to break the fight apart. But she saw something in Vegeta and Trunks' fight. Vegeta had a smile on his face. With each improvement Trunks made, with each innovation and recovery, that smile got a tiny bit wider, a bit more genuine. He was bonding with his kid in the only way a Saiyan like him really knew how. She smiled to herself. "Vegeta, Trunks, make sure to come home for dinner, okay?" she said to them before she left to continue her work. Later that night, Yamcha returned to Bulma's underground shelter. Bulma hated sleeping in tents. She preferred solid walls, a proper bathroom, and a roof. He jumped down the shaft, leaving a single hand on the edge of the ladder as he slid down. The moment his feet hit the floor, he smelled something cooking, food that drew him into the kitchen. Bulma was trying to make a decent meal. He got beside her without saying a word and started helping prepare the food. Bulma looked to him, about to shoo him away, but he was surprisingly actually good at cooking. Yamcha's eyes switched from the ingredients to the spices to the large pot. It was a simple meal, but even the simplest of meals could be improved with a little creativity and skill. Later, when Trunks came into the dining room, there was a patch on the brow of his eye and a bruise on his right shoulder. Yamcha raised an eyebrow. Hey Trunks, what happened to you, little guy? Trunks started eating the stew while providing a half-hearted answer. I got in a fight. Bulma came out of the kitchen with the rice. Trunks and Vegeta got into a fight. Speaking of which, where is Vegeta? Trunks was about to answer, but he didn't have the time. He's right here, Vegeta said as he walked around the corner. He eyed the food and sat down, not even acknowledging Yamcha beyond a glance in his direction. Their stomachs distracted them all from any tension or anger in the group. The next hour and a half was nothing but empty plates, subtle nods and gestures when requesting seconds or having someone pass the salt. By the time it was finished, Yamcha was patting his full stomach, satisfied with the meal. Vegeta wasn't as visibly relaxed, but he still did sate his appetite. He looked at Yamcha. Now that we're finished, I think it's time we settle things. Yamcha stood up. Fine, let's get away from the campsite. I don't want to startle anyone. They both flew out of the bunker, soaring through the night sky as they landed in silence. The silence was only broken by the chorus of crickets around them. The dirt and sand beneath their feet stood still, awaiting the storm soon to come. Yamcha popped his neck. He would be lying if he said this wasn't payback, at least in some small part. Vegeta asked, "Well, what's the delay? Don't tell me that this was all talk after all." Yamcha grinned. "Raging wolf!" His aura flared, growing into a pillar of red energy. It was so dense. Vegeta grinned. "Not bad, but it's nothing compared to the might of the legendary Super Saiyan." With a scream and a short burst of power, Vegeta transforms as well. The red and yellow auras clash against each other, against the backdrop of the night sky, a furious dance of dark red and vibrant yellow. Soon, the auras retracted, condensing around their forms. Yamcha's red aura was so dense, it was as if he was engulfed in fire. Suddenly, without warning, Yamcha was in front of Vegeta, with his fist pulled back. In an arcing blow that left barely enough time for Vegeta to register his own shock, he was sent barreling back, the light in his eyes flickering as he barely recomposed himself, slamming his feet into the ground as he slowed his momentum. Frantically looking from left to right, Vegeta barely managed to raise his arms in time to block a strike from Yamcha. The ground beneath them shattered as Vegeta was sent skyward. Vegeta charged up a lot of energy he had and let out an omnidirectional ki wave. Yamcha backed away from it and flew back into range before Vegeta could gather his thoughts. Pure instinct let Vegeta dodge the first blow and go for a counter-strike. But Yamcha sidestepped and moved into Vegeta's guard, charging up a blast of ki in his left palm. He placed it firmly against Vegeta's chest, then unleashed it in a massive wave that sent Vegeta flying to the ground. Vegeta crashed into a nearby pillar of sandstone. It caved in on him, burying him in rubble. Yamcha floated down and asked, "Had enough yet?" Vegeta charged out of the rubble in a flash. The dust kicked up air around them, clouding Yamcha's vision. Yamcha waved a hand, using his ki to expel the dust just in time to dodge Vegeta's tackle. Yamcha raised his knee to Vegeta's stomach as he rushed past, causing Vegeta to run right into it. Vegeta staggered back, vomiting the recently eaten dinner. Part of Yamcha enjoyed the payback, but a larger part felt kind of bad for taking it this far. He's no better than Vegeta if he keeps toying with him like this. Yamcha says, "It's over, Vegeta. Let's just call it a night." Vegeta gritted his teeth in rage. "You dare think a mere Earthling could ever beat me? Last I checked, I haven't lost yet." Vegeta charges in again. This time, Yamcha's done playing. He unleashes a flurry of blows, each one a devastating, game-ending strike, and then finishes it all with a kick. Vegeta is sent crashing back into the rubble he came screaming out of mere moments earlier. He soon barely manages to stand. Walking at Yamcha with a determined glare, he falls to his knees, exhausted. Yamcha powers down and sighs, rubbing the back of his head. "Hey man, don't sweat it. You've been dead for a long time, right? I'm sure a month or two of training will make you much stronger." Yamcha walked forward, extending his hand. "In fact, I know a place where you can train for an entire year in just a..." But Yamcha's sentence was cut off. "Shut up! I am not finished! I will not lose to the likes of an Earthling! If you think you've won, you're wrong!" Vegeta strikes the ground with his fists, rage boiling over like a fountain. It was bad enough it was just Kakarot, but now the Namekian and this Earthling have both surpassed him. No. It was his birthright to be stronger, to be greater. He obtained the power of the legendary Super Saiyan, and he's still falling short. With a guttural scream, his ki raged forth, a power never before thought possible. His muscles expanded to double, no, triple their mass. His power exceeds everything everyone thought possible before. He stands with a smirk, the sudden flow of power completely blinding him to his new bulk. He rises from his knees, driving his elbow into Yamcha's stomach on the way up. Yamcha curls over, vomiting all he had eaten. Vegeta stares down at him with a grin. "Well, what did I tell you? An Earthling could never hope to match a Saiyan." Yamcha gets up, gasping through the pain as he wipes a bit of bile from his lip. Yamcha transforms again, the raging wolf burning a bright red. Yamcha and Vegeta rushed each other, but Vegeta was stronger now, much stronger. Just a few exchanges could reveal that. Yamcha could feel the tension in his bones when blocking even just a couple of strikes, even hear the straining of his tendons. Yamcha leaps backward into the sky and starts charging up ki blasts, one after the other unleashing them down on Vegeta with a vengeance. Vegeta tanks the blows, flying right through them, powering through the attacks. He goes for a swing, and Yamcha dodges effortlessly. They both recognize the weakness of this form by now. It's slower, much slower than normal. Vegeta goes to aim a ki blast, but his lower agility makes it harder to aim the attack. He lets off a ki wave, and then another, and Yamcha dodges them all. Vegeta lands back on the ground. He can't waste energy trying to fly around with this form without a plan. Yamcha comes down to him and delivers a right hook. Vegeta felt it, but the durability this new form provides let him recover and go for a quick counterattack that misses by a wide margin. Yamcha charges up a ki blast while he's flying back and fires at Vegeta again. It crashes into Vegeta, exploding the ground around him. Vegeta feels out Yamcha's ki and begins to fly at it through the rubble and the debris. Yamcha, looking around desperately, gets struck cleanly as Vegeta takes him by surprise through the fog. Yamcha is sent back and barely recovers mid-air without losing concentration. Vegeta wondered why this blow connected, and then he recalled when he first came rushing at Yamcha out of the rubble, kicking up dust into the air as he did. Yamcha had dispersed this dust before he even tried to counterattack Vegeta. It was then Vegeta realized something. Yamcha can't sense ki while he's using this form. Vegeta grinned, letting out a volley of ki blasts. Yamcha dodged them all easily. What's he doing? He should know he's just wasting energy. However, Yamcha does not notice the ki blasts are not going skyward. They're stopping mid-air, being held in place, stagnant. After the final blast, Vegeta says, "Take this!" Vegeta grips his hand, and the masses of energy expand and start glowing, brighter and brighter. Yamcha has to shield his eyes, unable to see anything. Suddenly, Vegeta strikes him in the gut and follows up with a kick to his forehead. Yamcha is sent sprawling through the field of bright lights. He tries to recover, tries to fly out, but Vegeta cuts him off and hits him with a double hammer fist over the top of Yamcha's head. Yamcha lets out a scream as he just barely manages to keep himself focused enough to avoid catastrophic failure. Vegeta backs off, not letting Yamcha get a feel for where or when he's going to strike. Yamcha makes a last-minute decision to power down into Kaioken times 20 for a brief moment, allowing him to sense Vegeta once again. Yamcha barely ducks a blow, and Judo throws Vegeta over his shoulder and down to the ground, using his momentum against him. Vegeta can't slow his descent in time and crashes into the dirt below. Yamcha takes this reprieve to shoot down all the lights from the sky around him. Then, as they're all dispersed, he takes on the form of the Raging Wolf once again. Vegeta climbs out of the rubble, and what he sees is a bloody Yamcha gasping for breath, running on empty. Vegeta isn't faring much better. He can feel he has it in him for one last attack. Vegeta charges in with Yamcha with all he has. Yamcha easily dodges the blow, and strikes Vegeta clean in the jaw with a right jab. Vegeta is sent flying into a nearby lake. Yamcha looks at his own fist, confused. He didn't think he hit Vegeta with that much power. However, after a few seconds, a wave of energy displaces half the lake with its force. A Gallic gun is sent rushing from the lake. Yamcha can't dodge. He has to take on the blow. He raises his hands and grabs it. His muscles spasm under the force of the strike. Vegeta says, "Give up! I've already won!" A drop of blood leaks from Yamcha's nose. He decides to take a page from the Book of Turles and charges up a ki blast in his mouth, growing larger and larger, until finally he opens up his mouth, unleashing a pinpoint wave of ki. It doesn't push back Vegeta's blast, it punches through it, crashing through the wall of energy and striking Vegeta head-on. It changes his expression from one of shock to one of mild pain. Vegeta loses focus for a moment, and that's all Yamcha needed. He barely manages to bounce the blast skywards with shaking hands. Yamcha staggers midair, barely managing to fly at this point. Vegeta claws his way from the lake before the water can crash onto him. They're both staring down each other, no more than 20 feet away. Thinking of Master Roshi, Yamcha lets out a final scream, pumping his body full of ki just like Vegeta. His muscles expanding tenfold, he rushes Vegeta and they lock hands. Yamcha is stronger than before, but it's not the exact same transformation as Vegeta's new form, and it doesn't grant the same boosts, but it's enough to just close the gap. Pushing against each other, the ground cracks beneath them. Pulling back, they both crash into each other with a devastating headbutt. Yamcha staggers back, immediately dropping the Raging Wolf form before it kills him. Vegeta's muscles deflate and his hair turns into a solid black. Blood comes out of Yamcha's forehead in waves as he continues to stagger backwards, swaying back and forth, but not quite falling. Vegeta's vision blurs, his legs give out, and he collapses to the ground. The last thing he hears before blacking out is Yamcha's own body hitting the ground. Daytime arrives, and Yamcha wakes up, surprised to find himself fully healed by Chaozu. Yamcha claws himself to his feet, surprised to see Vegeta already standing, staring off at the sky. He senses Kakarot now. They must have come out of the time chamber sometime last night. Yamcha asks, "Wait, when did you get here?" Chaozu explains that he came from Kami's lookout after he saw what happened from it. Even after healing them, it took them a long time to wake up. Vegeta woke up first, thanks in part to his Saiyan genetics. Vegeta turns to see Yamcha. "Finally awake. I decided to thank you," Vegeta grins as he explains. "You see, I thought Super Saiyan was the limit of my power. And yet, last night, I broke that ceiling. I have surpassed the legend." Yamcha points out, "But that new form is kinda bad, isn't it? A little slow for actual combat." Vegeta agrees, but corrects one assumption. "Yes, but I can surpass that form as I will break past it too. Go even further beyond. You've given me all the tools I need to surpass Kakarot. And you as well." Yamcha smiles at this. He's almost happy for Vegeta, actually. "You're taking your loss really well, Vegeta." Vegeta grips his fist, the glove straining under his irritation. "Loss? You make it sound like you beat me. We were both knocked out by our final strike." Yamcha shrugs. "Yeah, well, you hit the ground first if I remember right." Vegeta narrows his eyes at Yamcha, before flying up into the air and dashing off. Yamcha can't help but ask, "Where's he heading?" Chaozu explains. "Oh, I told him about the time chamber after he asked where Goku came from. He's probably going there." Yamcha sighs with a nod, stretching his neck side to side as he decides he had better head back and help Bulma for the rest of the day. And that will do it for part 9. Good luck with tomorrow and every day after.